Hey Jordan, what's the best thing about Undertale?
Is this just gonna be like a thing with you now? You're just gonna sit there in the dark and ask questions?
Yes.
Okay.
What's the best thing about Undertale?
Yeah, I know, I heard you the first time.
Answer the question. Answer the question.
Die in a fire!
Chances are, if you use the internet, and you just so happen to be living in the year 2016, you've probably heard of the game Undertale by Toby Fox. Undertale is a cute game. It's a funny game. It's a game that's famous all over the world now. Not only for its Earthbound references and its charming, witty sense of humor, but also for its game design, which is well thought out, experimental, and stellar in execution. But you all know this already.
After finally getting around to playing Undertale, because the internet wouldn't have allowed me to live peacefully until I did, I realized there is a hell of a lot to love about it. The characters, the comedy, the music, the moral choice, the unbelievably polished effort that was put into the game's self-aware programming. Lesser dog. It's a great game, and I do realize why it's so popular. But I would be lying if I said I did enjoy it as much as everyone else did.
Yeah, to be honest, Undertale is not my favorite game in the whole world. It's not even a game I'm madly psychotically in love with, which feels weird to say because I'm a huge fan of other indie Earthbound-styled RPG-themed games. Like, I love Yume Nikki, I love Off, I love Paper Mario, and I love Lisa the Painful RPG. And Undertale's more polished and refined than almost any of those games. It seems like I should love Undertale a lot more than I do, but I don't know, I guess the reason I don't like it as much is just the cinematicness of it? Undertale is a very cinematic experience. It's a very comedic experience, with lots of funny dialogue, extra funny dialogue, and more funny dialogue being fed to me constantly throughout the whole game. And that's totally fine, don't get me wrong. The game is hilarious, full of wit, heart, and charm that never lets up for a single second. And as far as the dialogue goes, Undertale is some of the best writing I've ever seen in an indie game, period. Especially when it comes to those powerful, serious themes of mercy, empathy, and choice. The game almost feels important at times. Like it feels like it has something to say. Something to say about love, or acceptance. Or maybe just how much better or how much worse things could be, based on the choices we make every day. It's a great game, no doubt. And I'm glad it's gotten the popularity it deserves. But you know why I bring it up? I bring it up because when I first started playing Undertale, I was in love with the game. Like I was really enjoying it, almost as much as I enjoy Yume Nikki or Paper Mario. I was really digging the first middle part of the game, where you're able to just explore and walk around, entering houses, talking to characters, and learning about the world and the lore. But then, halfway through the game, I stopped liking it as much. Once the character Alphys was introduced, and the game stopped being so exploration heavy and instead became more dialogue heavy, more cutscene-y, and more climactic, well, I didn't think it was bad, but I just didn't like it as much as that wonderful first half.
Hey Jordan, why aren't you talking about Off by Mortis Ghost?
What?
Why aren't you talking about Off by Mortis Ghost? You said you'd talk about it forever ago.
I'm going to talk about Off. I'm in the middle of Undertale right now.
But why are you talking about Undertale instead of Off?
Because you told me to talk about Undertale.
I want you to talk about Off.
Oh my god.
So, because I like the first half more, if you were to ask me what I thought the best thing about Undertale is, the absolute bestest part, my favoritiest favorite thing in the whole game, you know what I would have to say? I'd have to say, one word, waterfall. So early on, after you first start truly progressing in the game, you come across this dark, wet blue area known simply as Waterfall. Waterfall is like this dim, quiet, crystally cavern place, with glowing rocks, misty rain, and rushing water. It's the third area in the game, probably the darkest looking one. And it's so beautiful, it makes me squee.
It makes me want to get out my glowy stick.
Everyone knows how expressive the pixel art in Undertale is, how gorgeous the music is, and how immersive the atmosphere manages to be because of it. But nowhere in the game is it more spectacularly true than Waterfall. Not only is this place immersive because of the visuals, the glistening colors, the eye-popping backdrops, and the splendid sound design that carries it all along, but it's also immersive because of what's inside it. Waterfall is a place in this game where everything that's happening kind of just steps back, calms down, and takes a minute to really sink in. Admittedly, there's never really any part in Undertale where you're free to explore a massive area that isn't, mostly linear, or where the story stops unfolding at breakneck speed. But Waterfall does feel a bit different from the rest of the game. While there are big things that happen here, like boss fights, cutscenes, and climactic confrontations, there are also a lot of places where you can just walk around and discover. For instance, all throughout the cavern, there are these things called echo flowers that are said to repeat the last conversation they heard out loud over and over and over again. So you can spend a lot of time here just strolling around and listening to the flowers, hearing what people have said while walking by them in the past. Like there's this room you find at one point called the Wishing Room, full of sparkling crystals on the ceiling that look like stars in the sky. And by listening to the echo flowers, you discover this is actually a room where monsters in the cave come to regularly make wishes. Come on, sis, make a wish. I wish my sister and I will see the real stars someday. Someday, I'd like to climb this mountain we're all buried under, standing under the sky, looking at the world all around. That's my wish. See, this is like a method of storytelling that isn't just storytelling through dialogue, but also exploration. It's storytelling through the background of the world, and I think that's pretty awesome. There are other things like this too. In almost every room of Waterfall, there's always writing on the walls you can read. The writing tells a story of what happened to all the monsters in the game, how they ended up here, trapped in the underworld, and how they plan to escape. It's just something you can read if you're interested, if you choose to read it, and I love that in games. But I guess you can find that in pretty much all of Undertale, to be fair. You can read stuff in Toriel's house, you can read stuff in the library of Snowdin, you can walk around and talk to people in the MTT hotel. But you know what the difference is? You know why Waterfall is better? You get to hear this music playing the whole time. If there's one thing that separates the first half of the game from the second, it's maybe the illusion of freedom. Waterfall is the only place in this game where I truly felt alone. I felt like I was exploring a hidden cave in Zelda, or one of Yume Niki's strange shadowy dream worlds. See, after this area, you enter this place called Hotland, which also has an amazing atmosphere, and honestly, it could have been just as cool. But Hotland was ruined for me by Alphys and Metaton, characters who never stop talking to you. See, after Waterfall, the game just starts feeding you dialogue constantly every second you try to move. Nope, time for dialogue. Nope, time for dialogue again. Nope, time for dialogue, let's dialogue some more dialogue. See, games nowadays are often so cinematic, and a lot of the time, they're just like movies. Too much like movies. Some games just need to calm the hell down. And Undertale is one of those games. The difference between Hotland and Waterfall, it goes back to what I was talking about before. The writing on the walls, the echo flowers. This dialogue is optional. This is not. And while I did say the game admittedly is entertaining all the way through, my favorite element of game design is exploration. Exploration and atmosphere. So I can't help but find the second half often a little disappointing. Oh, and plus, all my favorite characters live in Waterfall. Seriously, Waterfall has the best characters in the game. The best. Like, first of all, this guy. This guy right here. This little bird wants to carry you across. Accept the bird's offer? Yes. Inspiring. Okay, maybe it's not home to the best characters in the game, but you know what? It is home to Napstablook. Napstablook is the best character in the world. I'll have no one argue with me. Napstablook is lonely, introverted, full of melancholy, and he loves to listen to music. His computer's logged onto a music sharing forum. This guy is my life. This is so freaking relatable to me. It's painfully relatable. This scene, it speaks to me. It captivates me. It sends me so far away. Like that one David Bowie song no one knows about, Little Wonder. Take it away, David Bowie!
Sending me so far away, 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 so far away.
Answer the question. Answer the question.